Hey, everybody. Welcome to another exciting founder interview on Reconciled Live with myself, Michael Lee. And I have a special guest that I met last month at Cosmoprof North America's national conference in Vegas, and wanted to get a chance to interview here, let you all hear about her founder's story, and hear about the brand that she launched in the men's skincare industry that's growing exponentially in the industry. So, want to introduce Lekha Vyas to the show. And then, did I pronounce that correctly?
Oh, you
On
actually
this?
got it right.
Oh, perfect. Awesome.
Yeah,
Well, I grew up around complicated names, so I'm glad I got yours right, which is
I love
great.
it.
Yeah, I love it. I love it too. So, Leica, where are you calling from today? Where are you joining us from today? Where's home for you?
So mostly New York City. So I'm East Coast based. I used to live in California, but since I launched my company, I've kind of moved east and yeah, call it home now.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And how long have you been in New York?
God, I first moved here in 2013. So
Okay.
it's been a minute, but I've been back and forth. Just, obviously, I think you and I talked like because I worked in beauty. So L'Oreal and Estee Lauder, they're the two large beauty companies, and most of their acquisitions are on the West Coast.
Okay.
I've done this like back and forth by coastal life for the last 6 years, I would say.
Yeah.
It's been quite a bit. But I prefer the East Coast. And I think when, you slow down in life, I think then West Coast is fine. It's just so
Yeah.
in the world.
It is definitely slower in the West Coast. I'm from Arizona, and things don't definitely move as fast as the New York
Yeah, I
City.
catch myself like even in Vegas, I was like when I was walking, I'm like, oh my God, you guys are so slow. It's not a park. Walk fast.
People walk slow, people talk slower, they move slower, they think a little they eat slower, everything's getting a little slower.
Yeah, when I actually first moved, like for my role with L'Oreal, my CFO had to give me feedback. He was like, "You need to talk slow and you need to have like pleasantries in the morning." I'm like, "I said hi, how are you?" And they're like, "You gotta have a 10-minute conversation." I'm like, "Okay, I don't know about that."
That's hilarious. That's great. That's
They're
great. So
so
so you're in New York City, and how long have you been in the beauty industry?
15 years now.
Oh, wow, that's great. That's
So
wonderful.
this is all I know. I mean, I started my career in consumer, and obviously P&G used to own a lot of beauty as well. They're
Yeah.
getting back into that game. So started my career at Procter& and Gamble, actually in Ohio. So I've paid my dues.
Living in Ohio, yeah.
Those sexy places. But it was a great learning experience, and I don't think if I were to change anything, I would trade it for anything. It was awesome. And then I moved to L'Oreal Luxury. So that was my first like traditional beauty job, like in prestige beauty. So I've kind of been on in that space since I worked at L'Oreal. So I moved to the West Coast in between that job too, and then I worked at Chanel, very luxury. And then I moved to Estee Lauder. So all of these roles, mostly with L'Oreal, Estee Lauder, were kind of like M&A. So I
Yeah.
really got to touch a lot of brands, move around a lot, do different strategies, et cetera, scale them. And then I recently worked at kind of like a PE firm where they incubate
Okay.
celebrity brands. So at one point, I had 15 portfolio companies under me, and I was in the founding team for JLo Beauty.
Wow.
And so after I launched that, I had to move home because actually I moved to Michigan. My mom got sick. And so I moved home
Wow.
to take care of her. And then I started working on my side project, which ended up being my company.
Oh,
So yeah,
wow. And
JLo
yeah.
Beauty and I launched Elvy Lab. So it's like my mom's like, last blessing for me. I launched it in a cancer ward, basically. I built the brand.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
she passed away in February, so it's almost like
Mm.
a tribute to her, and, Elsie made her proud before she left.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And condolences on your mother passing. It, obviously, being so young and having a parent pass is just
It
never
is
easy.
I mean, you
Yeah.
just see your parents suffer, which you don't wanna do either, but I think
Yeah.
it builds a different kind of resilience sometimes that you don't want to have,
Yeah.
but, you know,
Yeah.
people say you're strong, so I guess if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger.
Yeah. And you as a founder building resiliency is something that you're building every day as you're growing your business. What ultimately inspired you to start Elvy Lab, and tell us about Elvy Lab. Like, what's the kind of the unique selling proposition of Elvy Lab as a product and as a
Yeah.
brand? Yeah.
So, I've pretty much been very entrepreneurial. I've been very ambitious my whole life, even in my 20s, right? So I think with my last job, I just felt like I was ready because, like, when you spend 10 plus years in a space, you really learn the ins and outs of it, and it makes you comfortable taking the plunge. Now, I don't say that people shouldn't just try things, but I think you have to be kind of an expert in your space before you can, like, justify, like, oh, I'm not going to have this income anymore. It's a huge change in lifestyle and stuff. But what really inspired me was this was actually a conversation where my mom was like still like okay, health wise. We were talking about my cousin who actually had passed when I
Mm,
was really young. And when I was in my teens, I also like, one of my friends committed suicide. So both were suicides. And I was
mm,
just asking my mom, like, Mom, what do you think caused that? And what we understood was like, it's like when kids go through puberty, I say kids, which is obviously teens now. When you are going through puberty, your body changes physically, mentally, you feel different, emotionally, you feel different. And obviously, there's very obvious signs of body change, right? Some people gain weight, some people have cystic acne, the hair for guys, and, it's just like the ugly duckling phase. But I think for women, we have our moms, and now obviously there's like a ton of options for women. You can just walk
mm,
into Sephora and somebody will just do you up and you're fine. So you kind of bypass that ugly duckling phase. But for boys, what happens is you come with some insecurity, getting bullied, and you're changing, and you just don't know what all the changes are because you're still acclimating to it. When they come with problems and insecurities, it's like, you'll be fine. You're a boy, grow up, be a man. Like, that's what they're told, right? So I feel like these kids, like, when they grow up, these issues were not addressed. And they have obviously now grown with a lot of insecurities. They've never had like a safe avenue to be like, I want to try something too that makes me look good. I want to go to school looking good. My skin, I want it to look good. Like, it helps me feel confident in my skin. So
mm.
that was like a major underlier for us where I was like, you know what? I want to do something for this left out space as well, like, because boys also deserve to look good and feel confident. And then we will raise a very confident generation of young men as well, because otherwise
Yeah.
it goes to your adulthood and you kind of stick to those issues up until later in your life. So that's the mission really behind Elvy Lab. We created this brand with the idea of bridging the gap between mental health and physical wellness, and obviously bringing like affordable luxury products that work on your skin type. Because I've spent so much time in beauty, I know formulations really well. We have an Ivy League dermatologist on our board who helped kind of like formulate with us, and two scientists. Super science backed and super simple. Like, the products actually, if I can do the camera mode, it's like labeled. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. So it
Oh
can't
yeah,
get simpler than that. So we call it brainless skincare. So you don't have to
yeah.
spend time in the
And
camera.
for men, it needs to be that way because
Yeah,
because as you said, most men, if not majority of men, don't grow up around regularly putting stuff on our face, right?
exactly.
We're not starting as children or preteens putting lotions on, putting makeup on, oils on, or anything like that. And as you said, most boys when they become teenagers, the thing they're dealing with is acne most of the time.
Yeah.
And oftentimes for most boys, they're just washing with bar soap. I think I told you that when I met you is what do you
Some,
put on? Well, I think most men is bar soap, and then I happen to use like a tea tree oil cleanser.
yes.
That's it. That's it. That's yeah, yeah, yeah. But that's it. Like most, and I probably am one of the few men I know doing that. Like
Oh,
other,
like being in the space of things. So we actually did a consumer quiz before we built the company, because we
yeah,
built on the two pillars that we got was effectiveness and simplicity. So there are the two main things. But as I progressed, I learned that some guys, and mind you, by the way, New York City is dirty, no matter like how you slice and dice
yeah,
it.
it is.
You walk over these like vents, there's sewer. Okay. And so it's going in your face.
Gosh,
Some people don't even use soap. Like, I get it, you love bar soap, but they don't even wash their face with the bar soap. They're like, well, it's just the water. And if I have hair, if they shampoo it, then it's like, oh, it just trickles down, that cleans me. I'm like, your pillowcase is dirty because now you shed skin
wow.
at night. Everybody sheds skin at
Yeah,
night.
yeah.
Your pillowcase has disgusting New York gunk in it. You don't wash your face. It's sitting in your pores. And now, I'm sorry, if you have a wife and a girlfriend and you kiss her with your dirty ass face, I don't know. Every woman I talk to, they're like, "Oh my God, this needs to be out there. Like, we don't want dirty skin on our faces." I'm like, I know. I was like, I was shocked.
I remember you said that to me. I was just laughing. I was just laughing inside so
But
much.
how
Yeah.
true is that? It's
It's so
basic
true.
hygiene.
It's
And,
so true.
especially in places like LA, Miami, New York, where there is a single population of men in their 30s, I don't think men realize how far good hygiene and skincare goes. Like even on like Hinge profiles, like there's
Yeah.
girls that actually will say green flag if you take care of your skin or if you use skincare. So women love it. So if many are listening, please take notes and please do something for your face because your skin will thank you in 10 years.
Well, yeah, I remember growing up as a teenager. My brother, my younger brother and I, we had fairly clean skin, and we
Yeah,
washed it regularly, even with bars. We washed it regularly, and we didn't deal with a massive amount of acne. We had cousins the same age who dealt
yeah,
with a lot of acne,
right.
and so they, I think my aunt or they just they dealt with. I saw them deal with a lot of different acne products and things like that, but I could see the impact of me and my brother's confidence being presentable at school, presentable with our socially, compared to my cousin's confidence.
Yeah.
Just having that, and that's whether or not we want to call that shallow or not. The reality is, you're presenting yourself every day, and now in today's world, we're presenting ourselves all the time, right?
Digitally, and I think the attention is on the face. That's
Yes.
what people are missing, right? I think since COVID, what happens, like nobody's looking at your shoes, your sexy Rolex watches, your
No.
belts, nothing. It's here.
It's literally there.
And I
Yeah.
think for guys, the main thing is like, look, I could have cried last night and I could have masked my face with makeup and nobody would know what kind of night I had. But for guys, if you cried, you have crying babies at home, you're pounding shots at the bar. I can tell looking at your face.
Yeah.
And the eye area is the main thing, I think, for men, like where you see the first signs of aging,
Yeah.
right?
Like right under here, right on the bags right here,
It
and everything.
depends
Yeah.
on the face, right? I
Yeah.
think for some people, it's like the crow's feet over here, the lines. And
Yeah.
what happens is like as we age, after 20-ish, our collagen starts to deplete at a very rapid rate, and that
Oh,
doesn't regenerate. This is what people don't forget. They're like, men, if you tell them use skincare, they're like, are you calling me ugly? They take such offense to it. I'm like, I'm not calling you ugly, but I'm just saying that if you don't take care of your skin is going to lose collagen. Even when
yeah.
you smile, like even I have smile lines, they get deeper because your skin
Oh,
doesn't have elasticity. And if you don't hydrate it, it's going to be drier. So when you smile or squint in the sun, that's why I always tell people wear sunglasses. Just do one thing, wear sunglasses if you don't do anything. So your eyes don't go like that. The more you
yeah.
keep your eyes creased, the more lines will form. And that you have to then get fillers for unless you're using an eye cream. So this is
Ah,
like little things that I think education lacks from men. And I think that's what they need to like understand because, it's like every guy wants a hot woman on his side, but I think women also want men that are good looking. They age together. It's just, I think it's healthier to
yeah.
be confident for both parties.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So for the audience, whether guys, I have men that follow and watch, but also women who are married to guys who they want them to be cleaner on their face, like you said.
Yeah.
What are some one if they literally don't if they're literally just like I wash my face in the morning, I use bar soap or I use a basic cleanser. What are some other basic things that they should start off with? And then if they're I actually put up the Elvy Lab, one of the product regiments that you sell online on this stream so
Mhm.
people can go and look at the product
Yeah.
to Elvy Lab. But where should they start if they're like, look, I don't know this world of skincare. I just know the basic. I go to CVS and buy the basic facial wash. But outside of that, where should they be going, and what should they avoid? Like, what should they be avoiding out there on the products as well? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think look, every guy is different, right? I'm also not a proponent of forcing people into using things that they have never tried. That doesn't work. I think one thing I always tell people, I'm like, you wash your face every morning. And I think at night you should too, because what happens, like all day, men actually produce more oil here in the T zone. This is called the T zone. And their skin tends to be drier here, right? But if you have some facial hair, which is the main difference between men's and women's skin, they have thicker skin so they can grow facial hair. But what happens is like throughout the day, because of pollution and
Mm,
grease and just everything, right? Everyone's skin gets oily, but men have more greasy skin here. So it absorbs all the dirt. And then on the facial hair, you're walking, it also absorbs a lot of dirt. So you
right.
need a cleanser. I always tell people don't use a bar soap because like anything that's too foamy, it leaves suds on your skin. Suds basically just kind of like they strip your skin and like they kind of like change your pH over time and it just stays on your skin. Like if you see it under UV and stuff. These are the testings that we did our whole lives in beauty. And we're like, okay, less suds are better for your skin. So your skin stays clear. But I think for men, especially because of thicker skin, you need an exfoliating cleanser. Or
Mm.
just, you know, obviously if you don't want my brand, like use any exfoliating cleanser, not St. Eve's like the apricot scrub, which you can't scrub that because that just removes the top dead layer of your skin and patches that too, which over time does more damage than help. So you need a chemical exfoliator. Go for clean ingredients so you're not really stripping your skin away of the skin barrier and not damaging it. So like for our brand, for instance, it's all organic, it's clean,
Mm.
it's plant-based. So we have fruit acids, including glycolic and salicylic acid. So salicylic acid prevents acne. And men, even when they're older, because they're shaving so much, you keep bruising the same area, which returns into razor bumps.
Uh,
They pick at it because it's annoying, it gets worse, right? So this is why you need products that have salicylic acid and they have some AHA, BHA to kind of go deep into your skin and clean the pores from inside out. That itself, to me, that's a little anti-aging, and that like ours have like hydrating properties as well, so it doesn't dry your skin. The second thing I will say, if you're a guy that's 35 plus, eye cream. Use the damn eye cream because I use it all the time, and I've not been religious with that, but I think using eye cream, and especially like something like we have, right? Like ours actually has this like 5 roller balls. They actually rotate and they help with circulation around the eyes. The product dispenses, it helps absorb it. So I go in circular motions every day, and I lift my brow with that too. So I'm just gonna do it here because I have makeup. So I go like this because then it keeps my eyebrow lifted.
yeah.
Like gravity naturally pulls our face down. So you want to do circular motions that are
Ah,
against
okay.
gravity. So like
Yeah, I
lift.
remember you were doing that on me on the facial. I was like, "Oh, this is never had this done before." This is great.
So calming though.
Yeah,
So
it
yeah,
is.
I think it's like clean your face well. And if you can hydrate your face, that will really help you
Okay.
anti-age long term. But yeah, otherwise
And
I
the hydrating, what are the different ways? Is it obviously drink plenty of water, but
Mhm.
also what are other ways that hydration can happen?
So obviously, drink a lot of water. Avoid alcohol if you can.
Yes.
Binge drinking. Obviously, I don't want to strip anyone away from joy in life, YOLO. But at the same time, I think if you take care of your skin on the outside, like moisturizer, hyaluronic acid is a great addition to like anything, right? Even if you don't want to go for the heavy moisturizer, hyaluronic acid is a hydrator. So that's
Mm.
like perfect. If people can use sunscreen, which men never do unless they're at the beach. And
Yeah.
by the way, guys, sunscreen doesn't really prevent your tan, right? If you really want to tan, still use SPF because that
Mm.
prevents you from UV damage. And UV damage prevents skin cancer as well as aging. So those are like the key things that you should keep in mind. But I think for our moisturizer, it's super simple. We wanted to make sure our moisturizer doesn't produce oil on the skin. It
Mm.
actually helps minimize the oil, but it hydrates. It's got ceramides and hyaluronic acid. So key main ingredients, just 2 of them. And obviously there's additives in there, but it basically hydrates your skin, super light, super easy to go on your skin, and it provides you with 36 hours of hydration.
Well, that's great. And then for guys like me, and maybe you can comment on this, I've got bigger pores.
Yeah.
Uh, and one, are there things that actually shrink pores? Are they real? Are they scams? And then what do you recommend if there are things that do actually shrink pores?
So, honestly, I think for pores, this is why I think when brands create products, like chemicals don't always marry each other up, right? Like,
Mm.
I think when you're using, let's say you use a regimen, you want to use layers that marry each other up, right? So I think for us, like, get a cleanser that actually says it minimizes pores because what happens is like you want to make sure your skin is clean over time with dehydration, with lack of moisturization, with aging, your pores tend to get larger, especially like right around here. So the cleanser, exfoliating cleansers with acids actually helps minimize your pores. For some people, which I'm not going to recommend if you guys can, clay masks work really well in shrinking pores, right? But I
Oh,
think the maintenance is super key where you are using a cleanser that will go deep into your pores, clean it out inside out. And over time, it's like, make sure it doesn't get too large and helps minimize it too. The other things you guys could do outside of skincare is actually, I really like the serum as well. This is my favorite product. I kind of made it for myself because everybody should use it. So this is the anti-aging holy grail. Like, I hate using any other serum, and not even being biased, I created it that way that it helps with full anti-aging, tightening pores, brightening your skin, tightening the entire skin, your face. And it has vitamin C. So vitamin C, actually what happens as we age, we start seeing dark spots. I think I have some like over here.
No.
We see some like what people call either dark spots or blemishes or sunspots. And those are actually like age spots as well. So as you get older, you will see a lot of older people have like little brown spots all over their skin. So you want to use the serum to prevent the signs of aging. So it's got vitamin C, vitamin E, niacinamide, and ferulic acid. So when you combine these products together, again, I say like formulators need to know how you marry up the products. So you want to make sure that when you're using a certain regimen or product, it is actually beneficial for your skin and they work together, versus sometimes you could have products and chemicals that just don't marry each other up and they don't work together.
That's great. Yeah, I put up the product there, the QR code for people who you should be able to see it. For anyone, if you're listening to this and you're like, hey, I just want to buy the simple package because I can't remember everything she said, but I want to be able to have clean skin. And here's the essential regimen I found on the website. And by the way, I get zero fees for this. I'm not doing this because of anything for me.
Guys, you picked up the sale offer.
Yeah, this is
that one.
Yeah.
If people can enjoy this is like super simple, guys, because honestly, the way I look at it, I always tell people, put number 1 in your shower because that's when your pores are the largest and it helps seep into your pores quicker because it's steam. So steam opens up your pores. So you want to wash your face when your pores are open and then they shrink back. So use this as a bar soap, but not a bar soap.
Yeah.
And then when you get out of the shower, I just call this number 2. It's like labeled. It's like first step is wash. Second step, anti-age. This serum is just like, I could eat it up. It's so good. And hydrate. If your skin is on the drier side, if you're like super greasy, then maybe you can like skip that. But definitely use the eye cream at least once a day if you can. If you want to look young longer, you want to protect your face, I highly recommend the eye cream for everybody, men and women. It's very, very, very beneficial because that's where you will see the first signs of aging. And then you're going to need plastic surgery, which you will.
So you're now, so you've got this great brand out there. You're focused on this, your target audience. A question I think a lot of men are thinking, maybe it's a dumb question, is are the product ingredients different for men? Like in the product, you talked about you made this for yourself and you like using it. Are the product ingredients the same across men and women brands, or are they actually different?
So look, overall, I will say, can it work? Yeah. Would you get the maximum results of the money that you spend? No. So the main difference between the men and the male and female skin is actually hormones. So my skin versus a man's skin, I don't have facial hair. So women naturally, because of our hormones and obviously monthly cycles and stuff, we're very hormonal and our pH and our skin thickness is very different. And this is why we have thinner skin. So we need products that are extra hydrating. My skin is so dry. I literally use like 4 or 5 products like every day just to hydrate. Like I use oils. I'm like, I need more grease. My skin is so dry. For guys, it's the opposite. I think because guys have thicker skin and higher testosterone levels, your thickness is deeper. So the product penetration needs to be different. So this is why I think like when you think about even the cleanser, it's an exfoliating cleanser. I don't think women should be using this every day. I don't recommend women exfoliating their skin every day. We don't need to, it's already thin. So for men, you do need to because you have thicker skin base. So that's why I think the products are a little bit different. The serum, which is anti-aging, this is really good for everybody. So the 2 products that I call unisex are the eye cream and the serum.
Okay.
All my girlfriends love this because this works really well as like an under eye concealer primer base. So I just use it for that as well. So I use it actually as like my makeup base. So that works. And I think for the moisturizer, like I was saying, for guys, we created it mainly for men's skin because it like penetrates deeper. It has hyaluronic acid, so absorption is quicker and also doesn't leave you feeling greasy and heavy. But for females, it's too light for me.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense. That's great. That's
yeah.
great. Yeah. So you're a couple years into this journey, and yeah, 2.5. What's the big vision of Elvy Lab? If we check in with you a year from now, 2 years from now, what's your big vision for where you want to go with this?
So we're actually building a brand, targeting athletes. So I think next step is that hopefully, fingers crossed, we sign this deal with NBA. And then the next step that we want to do is we actually want to focus on hair growth and sexual wellness. So those are two areas that obviously men do feel insecure about. I think hair growth for everybody is a problem now because females are
Yeah.
also losing hair, and that's predominantly because of the food we eat and the water that
Wow.
is, on us. So that's one key area. I think hair growth is number one for us. And then after that, we're going to build a full head to toe personal care line catered to men. And
Wow.
we want
That's
to
right.
expand obviously across retail, across the US, overseas, and yeah, eventually Asia, because that's where my story started.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really, really great. What's the best ways for people to reach out to you if they're a founder in the space or they want to connect with you and either, partner with you or work with you? What are ways in which they can reach out to you?
The easiest way I would say is our Instagram because obviously that gets checked the most.
Yeah.
So our IG handle is ELVY_lab. So just obviously follow us, obviously share whatever you can. And I'm very open to collaborations. We're actually looking to collaborate with sunscreen brands right now because we don't have that on our line
Okay.
yet. But I think because it's still summer and we provide a really good baseline for skincare, another sunscreen brand could be a great partner for us. It's mutually
Awesome.
beneficial. So yeah.
Yeah. So any of you sunscreen brands out there, partner up, or if you know one that wants to partner up with this emerging brand, that's very focused on men. That's great. And thank you so much for being on here with
Of
us and
course.
sharing your story. I knew I met somebody who's going to be very successful because
Well,
the
thank
moment
you.
I met you, you're the only one to offer me a facial right on the spot, and I was like, wow. That it just says a lot that you want to engage a potential customer
Yeah.
right away, and you really, really care about that. Yeah.
I think it's like if you don't try something, you will never know what it is, right?
Yeah.
So I'm a huge proponent of like try it once. It doesn't hurt. Like you're not gonna
Yeah.
die. The best is like you could walk away looking good. So yeah, I think we really enjoy doing that. We actually do pop-ups in New York, LA, Miami too hot for us right now, but we do pop-ups and we actually do offer free facials for like wellness events and stuff. So if you're in the area and you do find your event, swing by. Those are free facials and it's super fun. But
Yeah.
also one thing I wanted to add, like anybody that is trying to get into this business, and if you have any questions, just holler, find me, ask me anything, because I have so many learnings and so many pointers to help out. So yeah, happy to help.
Yeah, I knew immediately to have you on as a guest because as you were giving the facial, I was just asking you questions. You were very open about your journey,
Yeah.
and I was like, okay, yeah, she's learned a lot in this short amount of time already, and her experience in the industry,
Yeah.
which a lot of founders don't even have the depth of experience you have.
Yeah.
And for everybody who's listening, it doesn't matter how much experience you have. Starting your own company brand is hard and it is a lot of work, and doesn't matter how young or old or experienced you are, it's gonna be a lot of work. And so surrounding yourself with other founders like Lekha to learn from is going to be important, right? And hey, and some of you are like, hey, look, I don't know if I want to start one on my own, but I want to come learn. Go and apply at Lekha's company. Go and work there. Go help her out.
Yes.
Help her expand the brand. And but I thank you so much for being on here and just and sharing with us the great advice, especially for all the men. I'll be sharing this with all my male friends.
Please
And
do. Thank you. We can use all the support. It's a small business, and obviously we can only do so much on our own. So we need everybody's support.
awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so
Thanks,
much, and
Michael, for
thank you
having me.
everybody online for joining. And be sure to check this out. Share the live stream. It'll be on LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram. And if you want to learn more about Elvy Lab, go to Elvy Lab on Instagram or on LinkedIn, reach out to Lekha. And especially if you're a founder in the space, and she'd be happy to connect with you.
And if
Thank
you're
you.
in marketing, please reach out to me.
Yeah, if you're in marketing, reach out, and especially if you want to collab, for
Yeah.
sure, reach out. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael, for having me. It was so fun.